In its original form, the Doom franchise was never too focused on lore or storytelling, but over the last decade or so, things have certainly changed. Make no mistake, Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal are by no means story-focused games, with the combat and the action very much being the focus. But both games did add to the larger Doom universe and its lore in significant ways. The upcoming Doom: The Dark Ages is set to not only continue down that path, but even take it a step further.
It is an honor for me, personally, to meet you.
Attention! Emergency protocols have been activated. Please exit the facility now.
We don't know how to access his main cortex. It's all alien. We couldn't figure it out. We have to prepare for his careful extraction. We were given specific orders.
His life signal.
Though the upcoming first-person shooter is obviously still going to be about ripping and tearing demons first and foremost, it's still Doom at the end of the day. id Software has also repeatedly stressed that it's upping the ante with its story as well. With way more cutscenes and a prequel tale that makes its narrative much more front-facing than the traditional storytelling that the series has adopted in recent years, Doom: The Dark Ages is promising to be a much more story-driven experience, even if that is still not going to be the main focus, which, given that this is a Doom game, is probably for the best. That's made doubly exciting by the fact that this is a prequel, which of course means that the narrative is going to build on and flesh out previously revealed lore, which, if you're in the group of series fans who have been invested in that aspect of the Doom experience, as we have, it's a big part of what makes the Doom Ages such a big draw, even on a conceptual level. For instance, it's safe to assume that the Night Sentinels are going to have a major role to play in the story. Doom: The Dark Ages is going to focus on the war between the Night Sentinels and the forces of Hell, which the Doomslayer was of course heavily involved in, having become a Night Sentinel himself during the course of the conflict. All of this is of course information that lore drops in Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal already started going into.
You should not have allowed his location to be discovered. You have failed us.
It was not me. It was Samuel. He led them to his tomb. Please, we can overcome this. I promise. The gate will be opened as planned.
But now that we're actually going to get first-hand experience of those events through the Slayer's eyes, it's safe to say that we're going to learn a lot more that hadn't previously been revealed. So, let's start with that, shall we? We know from the previous Doom titles that the Doomslayer actively participated in, to say the very least, the war between the Night Sentinels and Hell. But how much of it exactly is the Dark Ages going to cover? We do know, thanks to official confirmation from id Software, that the game isn't going to lead directly into the point where Doom 2016 begins, with the Slayer sealed inside a sarcophagus, and that the game is going to leave the door open for direct sequels that continue the Slayer's medieval prequel arc. Based on that, it seems reasonable to assume that the Dark Ages is going to start at the beginning, or close enough to it at the very least, of the Doom Slayer's time with the Night Sentinels. If that turns out to be accurate, that means we may very well get to see how the Slayer, as an outsider who at first isn't trusted by those around him, gets to earn the trust of the Night Sentinels through his exploits against the forces of Hell, to the point where he's allowed to become a Sentinel himself, being the first outsider to do so. If not, we're still at the very least going to see the earlier phase of the Slayer's time with the group of elite warrior knights, which is exciting in and of itself for multiple reasons. Perhaps even more exciting, however, is the prospect of getting to see the Night Sentinels in action with our own eyes. Previous Doom game lore drops and backstory tidbits make it impossible not to build up these elite soldiers in your head as earth-shattering legends, and the fact that you get to take on twisted and evil versions of a handful of the Sentinels in the form of marauders only adds to their legend. With the Dark Ages, however, id Software is promising to take that and onto the screen. which means witnessing, and perhaps even playing a part in, the Night Sentinels' legendary exploits in real time. And of course, the Night Sentinels go hand in hand with plenty else in Doom lore that we're probably going to learn more about in the Dark Ages. Tied to the Sentinel story during the War with Hell is King Novik and the Invaders' successful attempts to sow discord in Night Sentinels and tearing even the not Sentinels apart by turning them on each other. Whether Doom the Dark Ages will make it deep enough into the Hell versus Night Sentinels conflict will obviously determine how much of the stuff we will see and whether more will be revealed to perhaps paint it in a different light. It's definitely possible that id Software will want to save some stuff for the aforementioned hypothetical direct sequels that follow up on the Dark Ages. But there's no shortage of lore to dive into and further flesh out in this particular phase of the Matter Doom storyline, which means more Night Sentinels content is all but guaranteed. We do, of course, have to make our way back round to the fact that, at the end of the day, this is still going to be a Doom game. Rather than suddenly turning into the sort of experience that puts storytelling and being cinematic at the top of its list of priorities, it's obviously going to continue placing an utmost emphasis on combat, as all Doom games should and do. This time with exploration also thrown in as a major pillar of the experience for good measure. But id Software has nonetheless made it abundantly clear that it has placed greater importance on the story and storytelling than in past titles, which is cause for excitement. Of course, some trepidation is also warranted. It's fair to say that most don't come to Doom for the story, certainly not over the action, so if questions are being asked about whether the focus on the story might serve as a distraction from the actual meat and potatoes of the quintessential Doom experience, you can definitely understand why. One could also wonder whether id Software will be able to stick the landing in a department where it doesn't necessarily have much expertise. If, however, the studio can strike the right balance and pull it off, Doom the Dark Ages will end up shedding more light on parts of the series lore, the Night Sentinels being on the absolute top of that list. Hey, did you know that we at Gaming Bolt upload new videos every day? Stick around, drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell. And let us know what kind of content you'd like to see in the future with a comment below.